Back when I was 17, I'm 21 now, I had one of the strangest, creepiest nights of my life. It happened in the summer of 2020. I live in a small town called Maple Hollow, just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Everything was still kind of weird from the pandemic. Even though most people were staying inside, my friends and I were the kind of kids who got bored easily. We were always looking for something to do. Most stores and hangout spots were closed, so we started exploring abandoned buildings and trails around town, just to kill time. I always liked spooky stuff, so I was usually the one dragging everyone into the creepiest places we could find. That summer, I started hanging out with a girl named Emily. We weren't dating or anything serious, just friends, kind of. She was cool, funny, and a little braver than most people I knew. One night I asked her if she wanted to check out this old nature reserve about 20 minutes out of town. People said it was haunted. I didn't really believe in that stuff, but I figured it would be fun. We decided to go super late, like 2:45 a.m., so we wouldn't get caught by any park rangers or cops. The place was called Oak Ridge Hollow. During the day it looked normal. A little run down, sure, but peaceful. At night, whole different story. There were no lights, barely any sound, and the trees were so thick they blocked out most of the moonlight. It felt like stepping into a different world. We parked the car near the entrance and climbed over a rusty gate. I didn't want to use a flashlight at first. When it's that dark, your eyes adjust eventually and it just feels more real. Plus, I didn't want anyone seeing our lights from far away, so we just walked, slow and quiet. About 20 minutes in, I told Emily we could take a shortcut through this narrow path I knew. It would loop us back to the car without having to go the long way around. She said sure. We turned off the main trail and started walking through this side path that was almost completely swallowed up by bushes and trees. Then we heard it. A flute. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then it got louder, soft, slow, like someone playing a lullaby. Emily grabbed my arm and stopped walking. We stood there listening. It didn't sound like a random tune. It was almost like a real song, but sad and kind of twisted, like something you'd hear in an old horror movie. I was still trying to figure out where it was coming from when I noticed Emily shaking. She looked like she wanted to cry. She whispered, "I want to go, now." I tried to stay calm and said, "Okay, let's go back the way we came." We turned around and started walking fast, but after a few seconds the music got louder. Way louder and closer. It sounded like it was right behind us. But no matter how much I turned my head or squinted into the trees, I couldn't see anything, just pitch black woods and that flute. We started jogging, then running. I didn't even think about the path anymore, I just wanted to get out. About 30 feet down the trail, we heard something big crash through the bushes ahead of us. It wasn't just a raccoon or something small. It was loud, heavy, the sound of branches snapping and leaves getting crushed. We skidded to a stop. I looked right, left, ahead. Nothing. But I felt it. I know that sounds weird, but whatever it was, I felt the air shift like it rushed past us. Then it was quiet again, like dead silent. That's when I panicked. We had two choices. Keep going forward where the noise had just come from or turn back toward the flute. I told Emily, "We're going back to the main trail. Just stay close to me." We ran. And the second we stepped back on the main path, boom, the flute started again. Only now it was different, faster, almost cheerful, like a circus song, but it still had that same creepy feeling, like whoever was playing it wanted us to hear it. We kept running. The path was long, but the adrenaline helped. What should have taken us 20 minutes took maybe 7. I barely remember the run. I just know we passed a weird portable toilet in the middle of nowhere, and for some reason, that freaked me out more than anything. What if someone had been hiding in there? Eventually, we saw the gate in my car. No one else was around. Not a single car. No signs of other people. We jumped in, and I floored it out of there. The next day, I told my friends. Most of them laughed it off. A couple believed me. I spent hours online looking up stories, Ghosts, cults, weird forest noises, but I couldn't find anything that matched what we heard. A flute? At 3 a.m.? Played so clearly, like someone was standing right next to us? I tried to come up with reasons. Maybe it was someone messing around. But there were no parked cars, no campsites, nothing. The nearest homes were miles away. There's no way the sound traveled that far. And the weirdest part? It felt like it was following us. Like it was watching. I still think about that night a lot. The way the music kept coming back, how it got closer, how it surrounded us without us ever seeing anyone. And that crash in the woods, whatever it was, I still don't know. But the way it felt when it passed us, that wasn't normal. It felt cold, like something that shouldn't have been there. I haven't been back to Oak Ridge Hollow since. I still explore sometimes, but I stick to places I can actually see my way out of. That night changed something in me. I don't know if it was a ghost, a person, or something else entirely. But I know this: something, or someone, was in those woods with us that night, watching, waiting, and playing that flute. The night I babysat and something terrifying happened. This happened back in 2016 when I was 19 years old. I had just moved to a small town in Oregon called Willow Creek. I was working part-time at a bookstore and babysitting on the side to help pay for my car and groceries. One of my regular babysitting jobs was for a little boy named Eli, who was 4 years old. I watched him once a week, usually on Saturday nights. His parents, Mark and Jenna, were always polite but quiet. They never really talked much, just the usual small talk. They would leave the house around 8 p.m., usually after Eli was already asleep, and be gone for 4 or 5 hours. They never told me where they were going, and I never asked. They once mentioned going to a nearby town, so I figured it was their weekly date night or something. That night started out just like any other. I parked my car in their driveway at 8 or went inside and said hello to Mark and Jenna. They told me Eli had already fallen asleep in their bedroom, thanked me, and then headed out. I put my bag down in the living room and walked through the house like I always did, just to make sure all the doors were locked and everything felt normal. Then I sat down in the living room with my phone. They always told me I could watch TV or make myself food, but I usually just scrolled through social media or watched videos to pass the time. Every now and then, I'd walk down the hall to check on Eli and make sure he was still sleeping. About 45 minutes later, my phone started ringing. It was Jenna. When I answered, she asked if I had just called her. I told her no, I hadn't called anyone. She said someone had called her from a number she didn't recognize. But when she picked up, no one said anything. She thought maybe it was me using a different phone or that something had glitched. I told her everything was fine and that Eli was still asleep. She sounded a little weirded out, but just said, "Okay, thanks," and hung up. I didn't think much of it at the time. Parents get worried easily when they leave their kids. I figured it was just a random wrong number. About 20 minutes after that call, I was still on the couch watching videos when I noticed headlights through the blinds. At first, I thought it was a neighbor coming home, but the lights didn't turn off. They just stayed there shining into the house. That's when I got up and peeked through the blinds. A beat-up gray car was parked right in front of the house. It was really old and looked like it hadn't been washed in years. The windows were so dark I couldn't see inside. Then I noticed a man standing a few feet away from the car. He wasn't doing anything, just standing on the edge of the driveway, staring at the house. He wasn't close to the front door or anything, but he was clearly looking directly at the house. I froze. I didn't recognize him, and something about him just felt wrong. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, so I kept watching from the window. After about a minute, the man turned around, got back in his car, and slowly drove away. But the weird part, he didn't leave. The headlights disappeared behind some trees down the road, then stopped. He had parked again, farther down. I stayed by the window for a while watching, but never saw him come back. Eventually, I sat down and turned the TV on low to keep myself distracted. An hour passed. Then another. Nothing happened. I started to doze off. I wasn't fully asleep. More like in that foggy, half-awake state where your eyes are open but your brain isn't really working. That's when I heard it, a soft thump. I thought maybe I imagined it, but then I heard it again. Louder this time. I stood up and walked down the hall to check on Eli. Just as I was passing through the kitchen, something caught my eye near the back door. I turned my head and my heart dropped. There was a man outside. He was grabbing the handle of the back door, pulling it over and over again. He looked right at me through the glass. When he saw me, he didn't run away. He started yanking the handle harder, violently, like he was trying to break it open. I didn't even think. I ran up the stairs, grabbed Eli from the bed, and tried to keep him calm. He was still half asleep, which was probably a good thing. While I held him, I heard loud banging noises downstairs, like metal hitting wood. He was trying to break in. I tiptoed down the stairs, holding Eli close. As I reached the hallway, I heard a crack. It sounded like something plastic and metal, snapping. I looked toward the back door and it was wide open. The man was inside the house. He was wearing a hoodie, jeans, and sneakers. He had short, dark hair. He looked totally normal, except for the knife in his hand. He saw me and immediately ran at us. I ran faster. I sprinted out the front door, got to my car, and jumped inside with Eli in my arms. Just as I slammed the door shut, he reached the driveway. I locked the doors, started the engine, and reversed. So fast I almost hit the mailbox. I drove to a gas station a few blocks away and called the police. Then I called Mark and Jenna. When the police got to the house, the man was already gone, but the really strange part came after. That night, the parents thanked me for keeping Eli safe. But after that, nothing. No calls, no messages. They stopped answering when I reached out. They never asked me to babysit again. It was like they wanted to pretend the whole thing never happened. I did some digging online, just curious. I found out Jenna had been married before. Her ex-husband's picture was blurry, but he kind of looked like the man I saw that night. I'll never know for sure. It's been years since that night. I still think about it, especially when I hear noises at night or see a strange car parked too long outside. I don't know what that man wanted, but I think he came for Eli, and I think he was willing to hurt me to get to him. What still creeps me out the most is how quiet the parents went after it happened, like they were hiding something, and maybe they were.